Hi YouTubers, thank you so much for watching this channel. My name is Kevin, and you're watching The Royal We. In this video, I want to talk to you about that child inside of you, that wounded inner child. I know this is not the topic that you want to deal with right now, but I promise you that if you understand and you listen to the words and listen to the meaning that I'm going to try my best to get across to you, you will not only understand more about the pain and the hurt and the anger and the confusion that you have coming out of narcissistic abuse, but you'll also know how to keep yourself from getting back involved in narcissistic abuse in the future. Now, when we talk about your wounded inner child, let's clarify that we're not necessarily talking about an abusive childhood. We're not necessarily meaning that you were abused verbally or even physically or even sexually or any of these things. This may be the case, and that is an atrocious thing, and this does happen and it's sickening. But being a wounded child, having an inner wounded child inside of you, can be simply from being neglected. How many of you know that being neglected as a child creates a wound, creates a void inside of you, creates a lack of understanding, creates a deficiency inside of you? This is the type of wounded child that lives inside of you that I'm talking about. This deficiency, this deficient child. Now, here comes the narcissistic abuser in your life, right? They didn't create this deficiency inside of you. They didn't create this pain inside of you, this longing that you have for validation, for esteem, and we'll get into that more in this video. But what the narcissistic individual has done has found this deficiency. They have found your insecurity. Simply by their repetition of acting like children, they have found your insecurities. A normal person, when they discover your pain and your deficiencies in life, will listen to you, will help you, will encourage you, will guide you. These are the people you need to surround yourself with. Narcissistically abusive people don't do that. They find your insecurities and they guzzle it down. Why? Because they found something that makes them feel better about themselves. They eat it up. They cash in on your insecurities that they found. This is why it's so important to go no contact from these individuals, because narcissistic individuals, doesn't matter if it's your spouse, your husband, your boyfriend, your best friend, your family members, your in-laws, get out of the situation, because they're not normal people. They themselves are big kids. They do not have anything. They do not have anything good to instill in you. In no way do they want to encourage you to meet your deficiencies and to get past your lack and to help build your esteem. No, they're going to suck you dry. They're going to milk your insecurity for everything it's worth. They're going to profit from it the best they possibly can, because this is their reward. It's rewarding to them, all right? But now let's talk about your childhood, your inner wounded child. I want to explain to you a little bit from my life about how I discovered this inner wounded child and how it was exploited by my narcissistic abuser. Now, I come from a background of being around narcissistically abusive people all my life. This is why I have the insight on it that I do. I'm not making this stuff up. I've lived it. Pain after pain after struggle after struggle. And I'm just now getting to the deep root of all of this, so I don't have to go through it anymore, guys. And this is why I'm sharing it with you. Now, I was raised in a very abusive home, verbally abusive, by a narcissistic stepfather who was verbally abusive to my mother, verbally abusive to me and my brother. Not only that, but very intimidating. He'd stomp around in his anger, punch holes in the walls, punch holes in the ceiling. All this stuff. And I was such a young boy, I didn't know how to deal with it, so I withdrew. I took myself out of the environment. My mother didn't know how to deal with it, so she withdrew into drinking. That's how she solved that problem. Now, I would be in the bedroom, I'd have my earphones in, I'd have video games, whatever it was to get out of it. I never learned how to confront the abuse. I learned how to withdraw from it. I was too young to deal with it. This creates an inner wounded child. I was inadequate. I was deficient in dealing with narcissistic individuals. I didn't have the esteem because I wasn't shown the self-esteem that it takes to deal with this type of abuse. And it's all about self-esteem. It's all about having that value, that respect. Instead, I withdrew. Now, later in life, the isolation from this type of attitude grew into more things. As I got older, I got involved in sports. I started to excel in athletic abilities and in sports, and I tried different things throughout life, all just to escape. What was interesting about it, I'm going to share this story with you, is my stepfather was actually a huge baseball fan, and he coached teams. When I was out of high school, he coached the Pony and Colt baseball leagues. And I was not that great of a player, guys, even though I did play and I had a good time with it. I ended up being on his team. He was one of the coaches on my baseball team. Now, this is very interesting, guys. Check this out, okay? I had a phenomenal season, beginning of the season, 1 year, when I was on his team. I was amazing when I was up to bat. I got up to the plate, and I would nail that ball each and every time. That thing was gone. Boom! Kevin's up to the plate. He nailed it. Right now, I couldn't even begin to explain how I did it. It just happened. It just happened. Now, the narcissistically abusive father, who was the coach of the team at the time, my stepdad, boy, we were like best friends at that time. I remember, this is the only time I remember ever connecting with him. He would take me out to lunch all the time, and we would talk baseball, and man, did he talk me up. It's because I was on his team. But man, I was doing fantastic. So here's another deficiency that I picked up during this time. I learned that if I perform well, I will be accepted by all. How dangerous is that, guys? I learned this. And let me tell you, it's an issue that I still struggle with. As a matter of fact, right now I'm making sure that I'm not trying to overly perform for people because I lived that life, right? That's why right now I'm making this video for you. I don't have some fancy intro. Yeah, I worked a little bit on my outro, I'm not going to lie. But I don't have some fancy intro. I'm not wearing a tie. I'm not standing with a well-lit backdrop with fancy music right now. I've got my phone in my car dash, and you're watching me right now. Because I'm being careful not to try to perform my way to you people. What instead I'm doing is counting on and trusting on the value that the pain in my life has given me so that I can instill in you some hope in your journey. I'm believing more in the content that I have inside of me than in my creative ability, okay? So anyways, this is a result of that, what happened in my childhood. I was his best friend when I was smacking the heck out of the ball. Now, midway through the season, I fell into a slump. I think I started to feel the pressure. I was up to bat. He started to put me in a certain position in the lineup. 3 people would be up, they'd get on base, and then I came up to the plate, and I was expected to smack the crap out of the ball and bring everybody home. Midway through the season, I fell into a slump. I was striking out left and right, guys. I couldn't hit my way out of a paper bag. What do you think happened? Narcissistic stepfather went back to his old ways. I was no longer his pal. There were no more lunches. As a matter of fact, we went home and things were back to normal at home too. He was yelling at my mom again, yelling at us, and I was back to doing whatever I could to just get out of the situation and get away from him. So, later on in life, I learned to deal with my life in this way. I would stay away from conflict, isolate myself. I don't like to deal with conflict with people. And I would do my best to perform well. And I figured, if I was successful at work, if I kept my head down and just perform, then I will do the best that I can do and nobody will have any issue with me. The problem is with narcissistic individuals, sometimes their rage is turned on by you performing. I discovered this with my wife's family. I get married. I'll be honest with you, when I got married, I was still in that performing mode. Constantly performing. I was buying my wife flowers all the time, saying, let's go eat, let's do this, let's do that. And my wife finally said, Kevin, can we just sit down on the couch this week? And I don't want to go anywhere. Can't I just sit next to you? I had a hard time just sitting down, right? So anyways, I met my wife's family, and I was on my best behavior. I was nice. I overdid things. I bought them these amazing gifts for Christmas. I performed, trying to perform my way into their lives. Well, with narcissistic individuals, who all they care about is themselves, they look at that as somebody trying to be better than them, which I wasn't. I was just trying to avoid any conflict. And it brought out them attacking me narcissistically. And so what did I do? I started to withdraw. I didn't fight back. I didn't know what to do. It all of a sudden brought back to me the feelings of when I was around an abusive stepfather. So this has been my journey in dealing with this inadequacy, being ill-equipped to deal with this type of abuse. I was never taught appropriate ways on how to deal with the yelling, the cussing, the screaming. I don't believe anybody really truly is. But the pain and the hurt is what normal people don't experience. So am I saying that I'm not normal? No, I feel like I'm a normal person. I just believe that pain inside of me, that discomfort, didn't necessarily come from the narcissistically abusive in-laws. The pain and the discomfort has always been there because I was ill-equipped and didn't have a place to get it out when I was younger. This is what it looks like when you figure out what your wounded inner child actually is, what's going on. This is how when you find this, you put boundaries around these things and you go forward in your relationships with marriages, best friends, and your work environment. And you know right away where to put your boundaries up. You know how to not let it affect you. This creates self-esteem. Esteem not based on what you do for people, but esteem based on knowing who you are. Because as you start to go back and look at your inadequacies and say, oh my goodness, I was never taught how to deal with this type of conflict, then you're going to start to teach yourself, surround yourself with people who can teach you these things, who can encourage you in standing up for yourself in healthy ways. Do not take the narcissistic abusive approach. Okay, they're big kids on their own, like we talked, like 3.5-year-olds. So you don't want to model that, but learn from healthy people who you want to be like. Healthy, tolerable, patient individuals. Once you have this esteem built inside of you, narcissists will have no power over you. You need to be at a place where narcissistic people come around you and they're going to cast their insults and it doesn't faze you. Likewise, you will not get involved in a relationship with them. If you're looking to date somebody, you'll pick out the signs of a narcissistic abusive person, someone who likes to cut, jab little jokes, and you'll say, I'm better than that, dude. You'll respect yourself and respect other people enough to not buy into that and allow them to do that around you. You'll filter those people right out of your life. All right? Without all the drama. I hope this helps you guys. Thanks for watching The Royal We. If you have any questions or comments for me, please go ahead and contact me. My telephone number is right there for you to call. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to talking with you guys. Bye.